going right away because we have so many people that are interested in speaking to this topic. So if members would take their seats and we'll get going.
Call the meeting.
Emma, I will. So I just want to say good morning and thank you all for being here this early morning of February 18th, 2026. We have a quorum? We don't need a quorum, but we will begin this committee hearing of Education Finance now. So welcome to our first hearing of the Minnesota 94th legislative session. I'm State Senator Mary Kunish. I am the chair of Education Finance, and I'm very happy to see you all here today. I do want to just do a little shout out. Today is Bus Driver Appreciation Day. Can't thank those bus drivers enough for all the work that they do getting our kids to and fro from school, and we'll be hearing a little bit more about from them about the impact of these past 2 months. So hang on for that. We do have a little bit of housekeeping. As you see, we have a much more robust security system here in the Senate building following the murders of Melissa Hortman and her husband and dog, as well as the assassination attempt of Senator Hoffman. And so you'll notice that we have stronger protocols. We do have stronger security in this room, but there are some expectations we have of all of you as well. So signs and place cards are not permitted in the hearing room. Verbal outbursts and applause, even though we did give it to the bus drivers. We broke that one already. But verbal outbursts, shouting, or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Applause or other audible demonstrations are not allowed. For safety reasons, standing or sitting in the walkways or the aisles, like between here and along the wall, or standing or obstructing is prohibited. If you require any accommodation, please speak with our sergeant staff and you'll see them around the room. Troopers and security personnel are present to ensure everyone's safety. And if you received an entrance ticket, we don't have entrance tickets, so we don't need to worry about that. Failure to comply with these guidelines may result in the removal from the hearing room. Our goal is to conduct these proceedings efficiently while ensuring everyone the opportunity to observe and participate appropriately. So with that, I think what we'll do is maybe just go around the room and introduce ourselves. If you would just state your name and then the district that you, or the school districts that you represent, that would be great. And maybe we will start with our newest member.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Senator Michael Holmstrom. I represent Monticello School District, Buffalo, Delano, the Howard Lake, and St. Cloud. Let's see, Annandale, and parts of Rockford. And then, of course, we have plenty of great private schools in our district as well, like St. Francis and St. Mount of Olives.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Michael Kroon, District 32, which is in the Blaine, Ham Lake, Lexington, and Columbus area. My school districts are Anoka Hennepin, Spring Lake Park, Centennial, Forest Lake, and I have one charter school, Da Vinci Academy.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name is Claire Umu-Verbaden. I represent District 66. That includes the Roseville Public Schools District and St. Paul Public Schools.
Good morning. I'm Senator Erin McQuaid. I represent Senate District 56, which is Apple Valley, Rosemount, and Eagan, which is a school district I represent and graduated from. I also have a handful of students in 191.
Senator Jason Rarick, District 11, and please forgive me if I miss some of these. I'm writing them down. I have Rush City, Mora, Pine City, Hinckley Finlayson, East Central, Willow River, Renshaw, Carlton, Cromwell, Cloquet, Esco, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing one or two, but and a couple of small privates as well.
Excellent, thank you. State Senator Mary Kunish, I represent District 39. School districts, Anoka-Hennepin, Fridley, Spring Lake Park, Columbia Heights, New Brighton, St. Anthony, New Brighton, and we too have a couple handfuls of charter schools and private schools in our district.
I'm Heather Gustafson, State Senator in SD 36. We have White Bear Lake, Centennial, Matamidi, Mounds View, and Forest Lake in our school districts, and I represent 9 cities, but the biggest ones are Vadnais Heights, White Bear Lake, and Lino Lakes.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to serve once again on this great committee, and thank you for coming out to the district here a couple weeks back.
Sure.
So, Eric Lucero, Elk River, Otsego, St. Michael, Albertville area. I have 8 school districts, so portions of the Delano, Rockford, Buffalo, and Monticello school districts, as well as the entirety of STMA, and then portions of the Elk River, St. Francis, and Anoka-Hennepin school districts. And then we also have several phenomenal charter schools in our area as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve Swodzinski, Senate District 49, Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, and Hopkins school districts. It's great to be back, and it's great to see so many familiar faces that I haven't seen in months, in too long. So thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Senator Andrew Lang, represent 4 counties in western Minnesota. To spare you the time, I represent all or portions of 22 school districts.
Oh, wow.
Not including the Christian schools and the countless homeschoolers and on and on. That also includes 22 superintendents. 4 counties has 4 county commissioners and 33 communities. So, yeah, that's a big district in western Minnesota.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad to go after Senator Lang. He has 22, including my wife's alma mater, BDRSH, BDRSH, as they collectively call it. Doran Clark, I represent portions of Minneapolis, so I have 1 school district, public school district, Minneapolis Public Schools, along with some charters and parochial schools as well. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And so that is our team. Senator Westland will be here in just a little bit. And
here I am.
Here she is. While she's getting settled in, I just want to point out that we're kind of missing one of our staff members. Jenna is our fiscal agent, but she's not present with us today, and we're happy to congratulate her on the birth of her 2nd child earlier this year. And so Bjorn Arneson will be covering her role until her return next session, so we won't see her this year, but she'll be watching, I'm sure. We also have Anne-Marie Lewis. I'm sure she's got better things to do, but, this is exciting stuff. And we're also excited to have our 2 committee pages this year, Sharu and Josie. They're in the back there. So if you need anything, just let us know. Of course, we have Emma here and Tessa. If there are any questions, if you need anything as the audience members while you're out there, please just kind of raise your hand or try to get one of these staff members' attention, and then they'll come to help you. And with that, Senator Westland, are you ready to introduce yourself and the school districts you represent?
Hi.
Your name, your district, and the school districts you represent.
Thank you so much. My apologies for being late on the first day, but I just could not quite get out of the house on time. My name is Senator Bonnie Westland. I represent Senate District 42, which includes Plymouth, a slice of Maple Grove, and the beautiful city of Medicine Lake. I do have 3 school districts, including Wayzata, Robbinsdale, and Osseo. And I'm happy to be here again.
Thank you. And we miss Senator Farnsworth, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good morning, Senator Rob Farnsworth, Senate District 7. I represent the best area of the state, the Iron Range. The reason it's the best is that it has 5 taconite mines, and that's the defining feature of the best Senate District. So yeah, it's the Iron Range, and happy to be here. Thank you.
And then what school districts do you represent?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I have part of the Aiken School District, McGregor, Grand Rapids, Greenway, Deer River, Chisholm, Hibbing, Nashua, Keewatin, Floodwood, Mesabi East. Do you want me to do all of them? You're just testing me. Rock Ridge.
You know, if you forget
the
one,
St.
they're going
Louis
to let you
County
know.
School District. I think that's all of them. I have like 12 of them or something like that.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, big competition here between all of you guys. Yeah. Well, thank you all for representing the communities that you do represent on this committee. I know you all bring unique and remarkable insight to this committee, and as always, I'm always open to hearing and learning about your districts, as well as any legislation that you might bring forward that might have really good positive effects on educating our kids. So we have a whole slew of testifiers here today. We're going to be talking about the impact that ICE has had on our educational system. But before we begin, I just want to say a few words. So it has been almost 10 weeks since I witnessed my first ICE raid in my district, and the actions and the violence that escalated with over 3,000 untrained, unsupervised, violent members of ICE that terrorized my communities and many other communities as well. My communities of Columbia Heights and Fridley, I feel, have experienced some of the worst, and it continues to this day. Over the past several weeks, we have seen ICE engaged in dragnet operations targeting our immigrant neighbors and signaling out our Black and brown Americans regardless of their immigration status. ICE has strayed far from their supposed mission of immigration and customs enforcement. We have seen countless videos of their unaccountable, unidentified, masked agents harassing, assaulting, kidnapping, and killing Minnesotans. Minnesotans are rightfully horrified by these actions, and on top of that, our federal government has stood by those actions, attempted to spin their own narrative, and repeatedly told us, "Don't believe your lying eyes." Today's committee hearing will focus on the devastating effect of that ICE has had on the education system that we have worked so hard to bring back from the pandemic. This committee, Education Policy Finance, has been nothing but intentional in addressing the mental health challenges and absenteeism that has plagued our students and our staff these past 4 years, and now it is clear that we are back to ground zero due to the terrorizing action by ICE. One of the most significant effects has been the pervasive fear among immigrant and non-immigrant families alike. Many students worry about their parents and their friends being detained or deported, which can lead to chronic anxiety, and this fear often manifests in decreased student attendance and participation. ICE agents have dressed in plain clothes, showed up at schools claiming to pick up food or drop off food in order to identify families who are not attending school or able to get out to the grocery stores. Students in classrooms had actually witnessed their classmate who was home because they were too afraid to attend school in person, and they watched in horror as this student's home was raided by ICE and the family detained. NPR News reached out to approximately 90 Minnesotans of more than 300 public school districts in January to ask whether student attendance had been affected by the presence of federal enforcement officers throughout the state. Approximately 24 schools responded, and over half of the respondents, most in the Twin Cities metro, reported that many students are staying home from school because they or their families are afraid of encountering federal agents. In those districts with widespread federal activity, as many as 20 to 40% of the students have been absent in recent weeks. Federal agents use school parking lots for staging their enforcement activities, and that triggered school leaders to lock down our buildings. The Robbinsdale School District officials say a parent was detained by ICE agents at the school bus stop on January 14th while students sat there and had to witness that. List goes on, and you'll probably hear more in just a few minutes. The impact of immigration and customs enforcement enforcement, ICE, on Minnesota schools is a pressing and most important issue right now. It intertwines education, community safety, and the well-being of our students, staff, and communities. These raids are disrupting not only individual families, but entire communities. Parents afraid to leave their homes for fear of being detained or targeted, stores and restaurants closing or locking their doors in terror of being targeted for being other. Across the state, we have worked hard to build educational safe havens where students find support and stability. But when students and families feel targeted, we see that they withdraw from on-site instruction and school activities, or even relocating, adding to loss of community connection. This disruption is sure to have long-term effects on the school fabric of neighborhoods and small businesses, impacting student learning, friendships, and support networks. So as we move forward in this next session, we will be focusing, I would say, primarily on the impact of ICE on our schools, the mental health of our students, our administration, our staff, as well as how we are going to once again address the issues around absenteeism. And so with that, I think we will begin our testifying. We have just a really great variety of folks that have offered to testify. I do have to remind you that your testimony will have to be left to about 3 minutes because we have over 20 folks that would like to speak. We are going to have a timer that will ring when you reach your time, and so then I'd ask you to finish up your final thoughts. And then, members, we're going to hold all of our comments and questions until the end of the hearing. And Senator Rarick, you would like to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I think what I would like to ask for the rest of the hearings that we're going to have for this session is better notice of what the subject is going to be. The 72-hour notice that we were given just said we're going to get a status update from schools, which did not give us any ability to prepare for what was going to be discussed and talked about. I don't think that's really the way, and I think even more so, not for us, but for other members of the public who would have liked to have submitted testimony. They had no idea what they should be submitting for this hearing. So I sure hope we can do better to keep the public involved so that they know what is coming forward, so that if they have thoughts and opinions that they want to share, they have an ability to do that as well.
We will absolutely make that more clear as we go forward. And if there are people out there that would like to send in testimony, we are happy to continue to accept it. Maybe we will be coming back and readdressing this as the session goes on, and that would provide opportunity for more testifiers and folks to speak their piece. So with that, we're going to begin. I'm going to call up 3 people at a time, and if you all 3 would come up and sit at the chairs and prepare, and then I will constantly be updating that list so that we can move through very quickly. When you get to your seat, please identify yourself, and when I call on you, you can begin. All right, so with that, I would like to invite Superintendent Brenda Lewis from the Fridley Schools to the table, Zaina Stenvik, Superintendent from Columbia Heights Public Schools to the table, and Mandy Zhang, teacher at Highland Park Middle School to the table. And Ms. Superintendent Lewis, if you'd like to begin.
Good morning, Brenda Lewis, Superintendent, Fridley Public Schools. Should I go with my testimony or do you want her to?
Nope, you go right ahead.
Okay. Brenda Lewis, Superintendent, Fridley Public Schools. We serve 2,700 students in Fridley. We are 80% students of color, and we are 72% students who come from families living in poverty. When you think of our district, think of 40% of our students are Black, 25% of our students are Hispanic Latino, 12% of our students are 2 or more race, 7% Asian, and about 20% of our students are white. Our students are heavily Somali, heavy West African, heavy Liberian, and we have our greatest growing population right now is Ecuadorian. We are very proud of our students. As was said in the earlier remarks, we have made so much gains, specifically in the area of literacy and math with respect to the pandemic, and we have seen huge changes in our academic achievement as a result of ICE, and we will see much more of that as we continue. I want to take you back 3 weeks ago today, about this time. I received notification when I was out with our team every morning and every afternoon. We go to every school and we go into our neighborhoods, and our job is not to interfere with ICE. Our job is simply to make sure that our students are able to get to and from school safely. My job is also not to talk about immigration policy or reform. My job is absolutely student safety and student learning. That morning, we started out with hearing that there were 6 ICE vehicles that were driving up and back outside of our elementary school. That's the only street our elementary school students can use to get to school, as well as our families dropping off in all of our buses and all of our transportation vans. Then, these 6 ICE vehicles got into our roundabout, which is adjacent to our school, and they would not stop circling, and they prevented our children from crossing. We have 3 crossing guards that are staff crossing guards, not student crossing guards. They were unable to cross our students safely that morning. We had ICE agents, a vehicle of 4 ICE agents representing themselves as the media with orange armbands, that were yelling and screaming at our staff, at our principal, videoing them and taking pictures. We had a board member who lives right behind the school who was taking her 3-year-old to childcare, followed by ICE agents all the way from her home to daycare. We then had a mom who is legally in the country, followed by 2 ICE vehicles. This is how kindergarten through 4th graders started their day at Hayes Elementary School. I wish that I could tell you this was the only situation. I wish that I could tell you that this is an exaggerated situation. Unfortunately, this is the reality that Fridley Public Schools, Columbia Heights Public Schools, and other school districts have been living in for the past several months now. We need help. We need support. We have 112 students that aren't with us that were with us in December. We have over 400 children that are now in virtual learning. We are proud of the fact that we stood up our virtual learning program in 4 days, but it is absolutely not the same as in-person learning. And while I believe that virtual learning is a great option for some children, the reason that our children are choosing virtual learning right now is because it is unsafe for them to come to school.
Superintendent, I think we need to wrap up if you don't mind.
We've had ICE agents at our bus stops, and I just want us to really focus on the mental health for our students, the mental health for our staff, and the academics. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Superintendent. I know that you have been boots on the ground this entire time, and you yourself have been threatened, not just once, but a number of times. And so thank you for taking the courage to model what it is to take care of our children. Thank you. Superintendent Sandvik.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for having me this morning. I'll provide a brief overview and then a financial impact that ICE has had on our community, our school community. Columbia Heights Public Schools serves about 3,400 students, 800 of whom are currently enrolled in our, or recently enrolled in our online learning program solely out of fear. Previous to January, we had about 25 secondary, middle school, plus high school students enrolled in our online program. Our school district has been massively impacted by the actions taken by DHS and ICE in our community over the last several weeks. Several students have been pulled over on their way to school. Dozens of our parents have been detained. 7 of our students were taken during this surge, and 6 of them were taken within hours, flown to the Dilley Detention Center in Texas. As of last week, we had 2 students still in the detention center in Texas. I learned yesterday that our 11th grader and her mother were deported back to their home country. And she had been with us since middle school. So really big loss for our school community. And they had been at that detention center for over a month, and similarly with our current 5th grader who's been there over a month. We've all seen the groups in our community, groups of 8 or more, masked, unidentified, armed, oftentimes men, but not always, swarming cars and pulling them over. 3 of them will box in our 17-year-olds on their way to school. Our first child was taken with her mother on their way to school as they were driving to school that morning. The families I have worked with, the 7 families, have come to this country by legal means. I've seen the immigration paperwork with my own eyes because they've shown it to me asking for help, right? They're not violent criminals. They're mothers, fathers, children, neighbors. So I do want to thank the hundreds of community members, teachers, and other staff and parents who have shown up for our school community by standing on every corner of every morning and every afternoon, even several blocks up, just being on the watch. Senator Kunesh herself, who represents our school community, was out several mornings volunteering as a crossing guard. Again, children are no longer serving as school patrols. We have adults doing that at this point because it's too risky. So imagine being a legal immigrant to our nation, or even a U.S. citizen, not a criminal, being racially profiled to the extent of being too scared to leave your home for weeks and months. Community members rallied around our neighbors to deliver weekly groceries, provide rent assistance, and pick up crucial medications from pharmacies. Our school district enrollment is down as of today compared to this time last year, 130 students, and I link that directly to ICE operations in our district. This decline in enrollment alone will result in a nearly $2 million funding loss for our district, where we're already faced with a $3.6 million loss in compensatory revenue. Funding shortfalls aside, our community will need the support to repair harm, both for academic learning loss with 800 kids online and mental health supports as well. So it's taken a toll on our staff, our students, and all of our community. Thank you.
Thank you also for your advocacy, your willingness to work with the families and help those families. You both are just like real role models, real heroes to me. Thank you both so much. Next, we will hear from Mandy Zhang, a teacher at Highland Park. And if Mary Granlin and Carrie Rodriguez would come to the table, thank you very much for your testimony.
Hi, my name is Mandy Zhang. I do not represent my school district, and these are my personal views. Yesterday in the hallway, my student Ashley came up to me and said, "Good news, Ms. Zhang, my mom got free." A month ago, Ashley came back to her apartment and both her parents were missing. She didn't know where they were. Her father remains in detention. Benito and his cousin were walking home from the store in early December. They were stopped by masked men and put in the back of an unmarked vehicle. The men asked for their papers. Benito, being 12, did not have any papers. He gave them his school ID, a meaningless piece of laminated paper with his smiling face and family name. They let him go. They kept his school ID. Ivan has been in hiding since January. He sends me emails asking when he can come back to school. I tell him I don't know. I paid his family's rent for January, $2,000. I don't know who covered February. Nicole was the first. Her father was taken from his job site. It cost $20,000 to get him back. Nicole's mother and youngest brother are disabled. When I talked about it online, asked people to donate money, several commentators called Nicole's family collateral damage and useless eaters. I paid their rent too. My students have more courage than every member of this committee. Some of them crossed a desert, waded through rivers, faced indignities and danger that we can only imagine, all to have the chance to sit in my classroom and dream. My students' stories have power, not to move you, because if your heart has not been moved by the sight of a blue bunny hat, or tear gas being deployed on school buses, or the federal government shooting a man 10 times in the back, then I'm afraid a few more sad stories will not fix that. No, I share my students' stories to shame you. Shame on you for your silence, shame on you for your inaction, and shame on you for your cowardice. I encourage you, GOP senators, say something, anything. You know this has gone too far. You know this is not over. A retreating force does not spend millions of dollars buying warehouses to hold people indefinitely. Speaking out is scary. Believe me, I know. I face threats and insults every day online. Someone mailed me a photo of my nephew to my home address. But I also see my students every day. I see the pain they are going through. No one deserves this, and especially not them. In closing, I know many of you are Christians. I know you believe in the power of salvation. I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. I believe in the people. Your God may forgive you for your weakness, but the people will not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chung. Mary Granlund from the school board member, Columbia Heights, and then we'll have Carrie Rodriguez, and then Joey Shenyan from the Minnesota Charter School Association. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I'm the Columbia Heights School Board Chair, which I have proudly served my community for the last 6 years as a school board member and as a community member for far longer. Since the surge, our school district feels a lot more empty. Our halls used to be bursting with students. Now it is bursting with supplies, groceries, toiletries, diapers, formula, all of the things that a family needs that we may take for granted, but our families aren't able to leave because our streets, which also used to be full of vibrant walkers, I would see so many students walking every single day to school, no matter how cold it was. Our streets are empty. We don't have walkers anymore because it is not safe. Because in our 3 square mile community of Columbia Heights, our school district is a little bit bigger than that, but in Columbia Heights, where most of our schools are, it's not safe to walk because we have gangs of armed agents in unmarked vehicles wearing masks with no badges, rolling up to students, blocking them in. As they're walking, stopping them, grabbing them, taking them to who knows where, which eventually we determined was most likely Dilley. We did not know about the last, our 7th student. We had an idea that maybe they were there. We could not get information. But when we had 2 students come back, one of them said, "Oh, that girl, she was in my class. She's at Dilley." Our government is disappearing our students, our family members, our friends, our neighbors, our community members, our business leaders. As a school board, we have made big cuts over the last years, and we try to make cuts as far away from the classroom as we can. We are not going to be able to do that anymore. This surge impacts us financially, as well as emotionally, as well as physically. We used to have an incredibly vibrant community of immigrant-owned businesses, of restaurants that, pick a ethnic cuisine and you can find it in Columbia Heights. It's incredibly diverse. Those businesses are closed because it is not safe, not only for the customers, it is not safe for the business owners to come to their own businesses. That impact, that tax impact on our community and then on our school district cannot be appropriately measured. We need help, not only from the federal government, we need help from the state government too, not only to get our children and our families and our neighbors home, we also need help with reparations. We are going to be looking at, with all of those cuts, with the compensatory aid and everything, and the fewer students that we have, we're looking at somewhere close to $8 to $10 million at this point. And our school district and our community cannot wear that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that information. Thank you very much. Next, we have Carrie Rodriguez from the National Parents Union.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Carrie Rodriguez. I am Matthew, Miles, and David's mom, and I am the president of the National Parents Union. And on behalf of the parents and families across the United States that I represent, about 2 million of them, I want to say that we see you and we are heartbroken in this moment. We are in a crisis of freedom and safety, two promises that every child in America should be guaranteed: the freedom to go to school and the safety to walk home. Classrooms, buses, playgrounds, and hallways should be safe spaces. But in Minnesota, and unfortunately in communities across the country, that promise is being broken. This morning, we have provided your committee with 2 of our reports: the attack on American childhood and learning under threat, to help you put real numbers and real data to how catastrophic this has been for our children, and we hope this is helpful. This legislature has made historic investments in public education. You've increased the per-pupil funding formula, strengthened special education funding, and implemented the Minnesota READ Act to ensure that every child can learn how to read through evidence-based instruction. Districts have hired literacy coaches, expanded tutoring, and added counselors and social workers. And after years of mixed results, progress was finally beginning to show. Attendance rebounding, consistent attendance in Minneapolis rising by 40%, and achievement improving, with Minnesota climbing 5 rankings in math on the National Assessment of Educational Progress to 3rd in the nation for 8th grade math. But that progress depends on stability. That stability has been shattered by the aggressive immigration enforcement activity near our communities and schools. Children cannot benefit from investments in literacy, tutoring, or counseling if they are not physically present in classrooms. The impact is immediate. Attendance at Minneapolis charter schools fell below 50% following community violence tied to enforcement activity. Rochester saw an 81% increase in excused absences in January and a 417% spike amongst English learners, and families of students with disabilities right now are keeping their children home out of fear, cutting them off from critical therapies and services this legislature has invested in. Across the country, we are seeing similar disruption, from thousands of students absent in Los Angeles to tens of thousands staying home during enforcement activity in Charlotte, North Carolina. Educators are now warning families of patrols, developing emergency safety plans, and shifting into crisis response instead of instruction. Until families feel safe, Minnesota's educational progress is going to remain on hold. That is why we are asking this legislature to take immediate steps to protect and support students by doing the following. Number 1, increasing funding for mental health support and trauma support, invest in making up learning time through extended learning and high-impact tutoring, and maintaining laws and enforcement around assessments and transparency so we can measure the impact and long-term impacts on children and track the results of the investments we need to make. We are so proud of you. We are so sorry that you are going through this moment, and we will continue to stand with you and provide whatever data and resources we can.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rodriguez, and the data that you've provided is incredibly valuable, so thank you again very much. And then next we have Joy from the Minnesota Charter School Association.
Thank you, Chair Kunish and members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Joey Chenyan. I serve as Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools. I'm here representing chartered public schools across Minnesota who are operating in sustained emergency mode due to the immigration enforcement surge of the last 3 months. What I'm about to describe is not political rhetoric. It's what school leaders are reporting daily. This is not about immigration policy. It is about the unintended consequences of recent actions on schools and students. Since enforcement operations escalated, schools have reported ICE vehicles near buildings and in school parking lots, agents using binoculars to look into classrooms, armed individuals making arrests in neighborhoods where children walk to school, unmarked vehicles detaining community members just outside of school grounds, agents boxing in buses and waiting at bus stops, staff detained on their way to work and asked for proof of citizenship, and minors stopped or detained without their parents, and families transferred out of the state. This is happening in school communities across Minnesota, and the result is profound academic disruption. Regardless of immigration status, many families are afraid to leave their homes. Parents are keeping children home after seeing arrests in their neighborhoods. Attendance is swinging dramatically, with some schools reporting 40 to 50% of students absent in recent weeks, despite significant efforts to reconnect with them. Schools are shifting to hybrid and online learning to help connect with kids, but academic progress is being disrupted in real time. Hard-won post-pandemic gains are being undone. Staff are burning out after months of double duty. Field trips, sports, recess, and after-school programs have been restricted or canceled. Buildings have tightened security. Time that should be spent on instruction is being spent on safety planning. Teachers and leaders are being threatened and harassed. Some schools have received bomb threats. Students are missing classmates who vanish overnight. Many are witnessing arrests in their neighborhoods. There is growing psychological trauma and a loss of trust in institutions that are meant to protect communities. Students continue to disappear from classrooms, and when students disappear, so does funding, especially in schools serving higher concentrations of English learners and BIPOC students. Many of these schools are already operating on thin margins. We are deeply concerned about budgets destabilized simply because of the students these schools serve during this emergency. Let me be clear. Schools are asking for stability. They're asking for clarity around testing and compliance requirements. They are asking for flexibility. They are asking for support. Because students are being impacted regardless of citizenship status, and these are Minnesota students sitting in Minnesota classrooms, when fear becomes part of the learning environment, every child loses. As a result, we will see sustained learning loss, long-term mental health consequences, deepened achievement gaps, and financial destabilization of vulnerable schools. And all of these things need to be addressed. So we urge this body to step up, provide flexibility to deal with the consequences of these emergency conditions, provide stabilization and fiscal support for schools experiencing sudden enrollment and revenue swings, and provide school safety funding for charter public school students to address the extraordinary security costs schools have absorbed and to protect students moving forward. Schools are often the most stable place in a child's life. Right now, that stability is cracking. Our leaders and staff are showing up every day, and they're hanging on by a thread. Our schools need your support because the consequences of this moment will be long-lasting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We have a remote testifier, Kara Hahn, if you are there. And then I would call up Bill Adams, Sarah Lindsay, and Becca Dryden to the table. And Ms. Hahn, would you state your name and then you may begin?
Yes, my name is Kara Hun. I'm a Spanish teacher in Columbia Heights Public Schools. I would like to echo many of the people who spoke before me, my superintendent, as well as the board chair, as well as my fellow educator that said a few more sad stories I don't think are going to change your mind. So I would just like to plead with you about the financial situation in our district. It's my 15th, 16th year teaching, and I've never started a school year thinking about the next financial year quite so much. This is all before ICE started assaulting our community. We know with compensatory aid, special ed cuts across the nation, that we're going to be bare bones as it is. Despite that, I want you to understand how we started the school year. My staff, my students, we all felt happy. We felt optimistic. We felt, as Senator Kunish alluded to, post-COVID, things are getting better. Our literacy rates were going back on track. We were working hard. We were going, ooh, next year might be an issue with our budget, but we're putting our head down and we are working hard. And now we're working triple and feeling like we're going nowhere. So we are going to need your help. I ask you to consider the hypocrisy that for my whole career, and I know many educators' career before me, we were told, we know you do good work. We know it's important. We know it lowers crime. We know it lowers need for SNAP. But unfortunately, there's just no money. We cannot help you. We have to cut special ed. And now we see the money. It's driving around our schools every day in vehicles. It's hotel rooms. So my colleagues and I are buying tissues because there's no money, but we see the money now. So I'd ask especially my moderate conservative peers, I have good roots up in the Iron Range. I have District 196 is where I grew up. I understand how the other side thinks. There's no money. We see it now. And I would just like to ask that you help us out so we can do our work again because we were doing a good job.
Thank you, Ms. Hun, and thank you for your your dedication to your students and to the rest of your staff who are working so hard to make sure that the students have those resources that they need. They are very lucky to have you. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
All right, next we have Bill Adams, Superintendent of the Wilmer Public Schools.
All right, Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for having me here today. My name is Bill Adams. I'm Superintendent of the Wilmer Public Schools, one of Senator Lang's 22 school districts and 20 superintendents. And I'm here to share factual data regarding the operational and educational impact of recent immigration enforcement activities in our district. For context, we serve roughly 4,000 students, and according to the website Niche, we're the 8th most diverse school district in the state of Minnesota. During the week of December 17th, following the first reports of ICE activity in Wilmer, our daily student absences more than doubled, jumping from an average of 230 to just under 600 students. Attendance stabilized until the week of January 12th, when one of our students was detained by ICE agents downtown. I can confirm that this student is a legal resident, and she returned home after several days at the Whipple building, but the event triggered a severe disruption. That week, out of our 4,000 students, we saw an average of 936 daily absences, peaking at 1,214 on a single day. To illustrate why, I want to share a factual report. On January 15th, a legal U.S. citizen attending our area learning center was stopped by ICE agents immediately parking near the school. They demanded extra verification of his citizenship and student status before allowing him inside. He arrived deeply frightened and lost vital instructional time, needing to spend the morning with our counselor to process the encounter. When families hear about legal citizens being stopped steps from our doors, it directly explains the unprecedented fear and the average of 936 students that were absent that week. Even as attendance began to recover by late January, we experienced a major operational shift. Approximately 130 students transferred to our online learning platform. When staff contacted families, parents explicitly cited fear as the primary driver across all demographics. Families of our Black and brown students feared profiling and family separation, even as legal residents. White families reported keeping children home due to anxieties about potential law enforcement activity inside our school buildings. Educationally, these disruptions create measurable learning loss. Despite our staff's relentless work, there is no substitute for in-person learning, as we learned during the pandemic. And we anticipate a negative impact on our MCA achievement data this spring. Operationally, my own role shifted. I spent days driving between school bus stops and conducting home visits when parents were reportedly detained, solely to verify that an adult was present to care for the students. Fortunately, we've only processed 2 15-day enrollment drops. However, the events of the past 2 months have caused tangible disruptions to our primary mission of educating students. I am hopeful we can stabilize our learning environment and return to the welcoming community Wilmer is known to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent, and I hope that we see some positive changes as the year goes on. Thank you very much. Ms. Lindsay, if you'd like to state your name, teacher, parent from Minneapolis Public School.
Good morning. My name is Sarah. I am a teacher and an MPS parent. I am one of the leaders of the parent and caregiver-led group at my child's school that has delivered weekly groceries to 185 families, paid rent for 117 families, and has given consistent rides for 70 kids. But I'm here because the women whose stories I'm bringing don't feel safe to share their own stories in person. A family in South Minneapolis shared, "We haven't left our home in 8 weeks. Our 4 children engage in online learning at a whisper to ensure that they cannot be heard outside of our home, and blackout curtains cover our windows to prevent any indication that we are home. Our children do not even see the light of the sun." A mother in North Minneapolis shared with me, "My children are 8, 4, and 3 years old. I was detained while working, and I am the breadwinner. My young children and my husband face 6 interminable weeks without me. My second grader was too terrified to even go to school. My husband wept on the phone with strangers. My children would not have eaten or remained housed without grocery and rent support from the team of parents at my child's school." A child shared with me, "I am only 7 years old, and I have to walk to the bus stop alone. My parents watch me anxiously from the window. I have spent these months, days, hours in anguish, terrified every day that I will be separated from my parents. A mother of 2 in central Minneapolis worked at a Latino market, but it was forced to close because ICE presence has driven customers away. She shared, "I had to make the choice in December between saving to pay for my rent or buying food for my children. When I personally brought food for them from the school for the first time, the older child said, 'Nos salvó del hambre.' You saved us from going hungry." It still makes me cry. These are 4 tiny snapshots into the lives of 4 families, but there are thousands of families across Minnesota who are suffering because of the violence and terror of ICE. These families asked me to tell you that schools have become the center of support and care, but they are very worried about their children's mental health, their education, and their futures. Our students have faced unspeakable trauma under ICE's occupation. These children are ours, and they are suffering. We need you to address the MPS budget crisis, to invest in more funding for mental health support, and to address the deep educational losses of our impacted students. Far too much has been taken away from Minnesota families because of ICE. Together, we can begin to heal. It will take all of us. Parents and caregivers have stepped up to lead in this moment, and now it is time for you as legislators to step up, to lead, and to support our impacted communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lindsay. We'll hear from Ms. Dryden in a minute, but if Betsy Luth, Karen Klinzing, and MJ Johnson would get ready to testify, and thank you for your testimony today. All right, Ms. Dryden, would you like to introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Yeah, my name is Becca. I'm a member of Minneapolis Families for Public Schools, and I have 2 kids in Minneapolis Public Schools. This is a letter from 2 different neighbors. Good morning. Our names are Erica and William. We want to share our stories with the state legislators so you have a better idea of what is happening to us as immigrants in Minneapolis. We came here 3 years ago with our 2 children and started our asylum process right away. The children started school in South Minneapolis and love their school. Before the raid started, I was working in construction, painting, snow removal, and any work I could get, usually making $500 a week. My wife was making about $300 from cleaning homes. It wasn't a lot, and some weeks we made more and other weeks less, but we could pay our rent, buy groceries, and pay for things our children needed. Then in December, we stopped working because we were too scared of getting detained. Our children started online learning. They miss their friends and seeing their teachers in class. They want to go outside, but are too scared to go because they have heard other children have been taken. We had to rely on the school community to help us with rent assistance, groceries, legal support, and other essentials. And this is from Erica. Hello, my name is Erica. I was detained at my check-in a few weeks ago. I was not able to call my family to tell them. The volunteer who gave me a ride told the school volunteers that I had not come out after a couple of hours. My husband was told I was taken by a volunteer because I wasn't allowed to call. My passport, along with my husband's and children's passports, were taken too when I was detained. I spent 6 days away from my children, not knowing when I could see them again. I was sent to Texas even after my lawyer submitted a habeas petition within hours. I barely ate the 6 days I was detained because all they gave us was crackers and water. I had only a few seconds to call my husband to tell him I was being released. There were volunteers waiting at midnight when I got out. I was so scared. One of the volunteers was from our school community. They took me home to my husband and children. We shared this with you because for any parent, our children are everything. Right now, for impacted parents across Minnesota, our children need more support than we can provide. The community has been stepping up in big and powerful ways, but ultimately, we need your support, legislators. We need resources to pay for legal services, groceries, an eviction moratorium, and rent relief. And our children need more support at school to make up for the unbelievable loss of weeks of isolation from their school community and education. We want to work. Our children want to learn. And we need you to follow the lead of our school communities, who are like our family now, and support impacted families by investing in our schools and our families. Thank you.